It's episode 4 of the Improv London podcast. This week's guest is Journeyman Mark Tindle.
This ain't gonna be easy.
Moving around.
Wow, we've made it to episode 4. Thank you all for listening, and exciting news, we are now on iTunes, so we are more accessible. Anyway, every week, I think I'm going to probably end up saying the same thing, but I really enjoyed listening back. I really enjoyed having the conversation with Mark at the time, and then I really enjoyed listening back to it before putting it together and uploading it online. And this has led to me wanting to record more of my conversations that I have with friends, which somehow is weird. That's seen as unacceptable. Anyway, here's Mark. No, it's good to it's good that the listeners don't get to miss out on any of the gold.
Ha! Yeah, it is all.
It's all gold.
Clearly solid gold. I mean, what we're going to get here, that's exactly it.
So, Mark, you were just saying that you had Thursday levels of tiredness on a Tuesday. Why do you have Thursday levels of tiredness on a Tuesday?
Oh, just genuinely tired. It was didn't even do anything last night. I just ended one of those nights. I was like, just didn't. Yeah, this morning I woke up without any energy. This morning.
Was it not Duck Duck Goose last night?
It was, but I wasn't able to make it. I wasn't sort of feeling up to it, unfortunately. So missed out, which is always a shame. And a new venue too, and I'm always so sad to miss out whenever we get to go to a new place to do this show. Which is always a damn shame. But no, it was by all counts, it was a good night. 3 good teams performing again. Good crowd, good jammers. It's all the things we want Duck Duck Goose to be, basically. Which is wonderful. I mean. I don't promise someone to explain a little bit about something.
We're going to get to Duck Duck Goose. We shall hold that. We shall put a pin in that Duck Duck Goose, and we shall come to that because that is part of the Mark Tindle story, but only a part. Only a part. What I'm doing with these is I'm generally talking to everyone, and I'm just finding out what their kind of improv story is. What their origin story is, what attracted them to improv in the first place, and then kind of the cool places that improv has taken them, and it's taken you to some cool places that I'm looking forward to discussing.
Well, it has. I've been very lucky with that. Absolutely right.
So, where did improv come into your life? Where and how? Yeah,
I mean, improv began for me first when I was at university, so more than 10 years ago now. Probably 10, 11, even 12 years ago, which ages me for the audience. I was at university and I wasn't really aware of improv, but I wish I remember who it was. Some friends of mine recommended going to see this show. It was upstairs above a pub called the Wheat Sheaf, just off Oxford High Street, and it was an improv show, and the team performing was called the Oxford Imps. Wonderful gag, classic improv pun name, ticked all the boxes on that. And they were a student short form team. At the time, what they did, I thought was the only improv that there was. I'd seen Who's Lines anyway, so I was aware of that sort of short form game structure, and that was really it. So that was the first improv I saw. It was 10 plus years ago at university with the Oxford Imps, and I was absolutely blown away by these guys. I loved them. They were funny, they were witty, very original, very sharp. What they did was play short form actually as well as I've ever seen it played. I mean, memory probably is a little bit, sort of golden hazy. But what they did was do what I think great short form does, which is be very high energy. They were a great, energetic team. They came out to music. They were obviously very younger students, so they played with big energy. They kept the game short. If the game wasn't working, they would end it. They would take chances, be quite risky with their play. They were very good at playing with the audience. They were really, really good at what they did. It was a lot of American students, Oxford drawing in a lot of US students as it did, but also plenty of Brits too, and they were great. So I saw them for 2+ years. I did audition as well, but didn't get in because I wasn't sort of in that performance place at the time. Yes, right.
So I was shaking my fist in anger at Oxford Imps. I didn't really come across in an audio medium, did it?
Yeah, I get it. I think that's what matters. I say that. So that's where it began. Was seeing them, and then it sort of that's kind of where it stopped for a long time.
Can you remember the audition process?
Yeah, I mean, they just had us come in. We did a few of the classic sort of improv games and warm-ups, you know, in the sort of the very, very standard ones. And then we just began to play some scenes, play some of the structures that they use. And it was really just to get a feel for what I think we could bring to its performers. And it was great fun. I remember having a really good time doing it.
So has your improv career since then just been revenge on the Oxford Imps for slighting?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately that's the long-term ambition, you know, to reach a point where I can, I don't know, be in a position where I can somehow destroy the career of the Oxford Imps, you know, be the man that brings the Imps to an end.
But not the Oxford Imps of now, the Oxford Imps of 12, 13 years ago.
Yeah, that's it. I've got to hunt back. I've got all the names. I've got the dossier on my wall. I mean, again, you can't see this on the on the voice record, but there's a checklist on my wall with X's next to it.
It's
names.
terrifying. It's terrifying.
Yeah. On such things, life is made.
So then you said there was a gap.
Yeah, very long gap. I mean, we're talking 7-8 year gap, really, where I kind of got in my head that I wasn't a performer, I wasn't an actor, I wasn't a comedian. You know, I don't know why, but I just got into my head that was not who I am. And it began to start again when I moved back to my hometown of Stockton. This was 2010, so Stockton-on-Tees in the northeast of England. And again, didn't really think anything of myself as a performer. But by chance, I ran into an old mate of mine who was at sixth form college with, and she was running like a sort of arts and sort of comedy, performance, writing, creativity collective, one that's sort of like an organisation that sort of brought other groups through, and the name of which I've completely forgotten, so I do apologise. So Laura, I am sorry that I can't remember the name.
We'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah, that's it. We'll attach it in. So she was running this really cool organisation, and she obviously saw something that I hadn't seen, because she sort of literally, I was walking down the street and she leaned out the office door of her organisation, grabbed me by the collar, dragged me in, and said, "You're going to join our sketch writing group." Literally, I'd seen her once, and she sort of suggested this, and I'd gone, yeah, maybe, and then sort of wandered off. And then, like a few weeks later, she collared me on the way past, dragged me in, and damn well made me join the group. So I joined a sketch writing group from that, and that was really good fun because it was a creative outlet that I'd never had before, and you know, what I didn't enjoy about doing sketch was the writing up of the sketches, so the thing where you sort of agonise over words and details, that's just not my style, and then doing the same sketch night after night, that was what I didn't enjoy. What I loved was that bit when we all broke up into groups. This is how the group worked. We all broke into little groups and started throwing ideas at each other, so we maybe get like words to inspire us, and we'd take an idea and, you know, improvise a sketch from that. And I was like, well, this is the stuff I'm really enjoying. And I was doing a bit of acting. I was sort of part of an acting group, and out of the blue, somebody got in touch with me. Obviously, my name had been passed on to her, saying, "I hear you're interested in improv." This is a lady called Liz Mitchell. So this is up in Teesside. She said, "Yeah, I do improv, and I want to get a group up and running in the northeast." So, you know, I sort of we began to get a few people rounded up. We got it up and running, and Teeside Improv was born. Unfortunately, we didn't last very long because the creative scene in the north is you know, particularly in something like Teesside, is pretty restrictive. It's just not a big scene, and a lot of people in the group were doing other things, sort of, you know, doing comedy and performance in other ways, and it didn't sort of really catch. So we were doing a lot of short form stuff, and yes, there is some videos in existence of me on there. So if you ever get there to look for Teeside Improv, then go for it. Including one game where I spent, my word, I must have spent 10 minutes with a guy trying to get him to work out the location we were in. We were playing the game where the version we played was called "The Boss Is Gonna Flip."
Right. Yes.
And so I'm playing the boss. He is playing the employee. And we've got two other people who are sort of on stage to help him. And he is late for work, but he doesn't know why, because he's gone out of the room while we've generated the reason. So it's that classic one of, we've got to keep the scene going, keep the comedy working, while he works out what's going on. And the guy who was the employee was, bless his heart, one of the least good at that game possible, and one of the least sort of aware people I've ever played with. He's a really nice guy, but he was terrible at that game. So I was like, oh, okay, here we go. And he was in the French Foreign Legion, and his camel wouldn't start. That was the reason why I was late. And I kid you not, I looked back at the video, it felt like an age, but I think it was about 10 minutes trying to get the work out using the French Foreign Legion. I mean, doing the accent, I was doing jokes about being in the desert, burying up the sand, having the Arabs eat him. I mean, it wasn't like, what else can we do? And even at the point where I said to him, what accent do you think I'm using? And he went, Italian. And it somehow works. It became a strange Zen experience doing it. And eventually we got there. And yet we got there really quickly. Once we sort of got over the hump of we were in the French Foreign Legion, we got there really quickly. It was crazy. So that was a lot of fun. So that was kind of the epitome of what we were about. We had a ton of fun doing that. And then, so that was kind of, got me back into improv again, the idea of it. And then, so that was in my head that when I came down to London back in the sort of, towards the end of 2013, improv was like, okay, improv is one of the things I want to do, because I knew, coming down to a city like London, I had some friends and some family down here already, but with the city being as it is, I mean, the size as it is, you need a community to be part of. So, okay, I need to come into something, because it's going to be my way to have a social life. So, literally put improv London in Google and went to all the things that came up in the first hits. So, went to Hoopla, went to the Nursery, began to get to meet the teams, go and see shows, and that's where it began, and this thing that was meant to be one of many things I was going to do, 2 years ago, has become the thing that I do and become my life, and that's kind of the origin of it, and it's sort of where it's brought me to here in London, being so involved with it all.
Can you remember which class you did first?
Oddly, I think the first main class that those posters to drop in was a Nursery Improv Shakespeare workshop. I go straight into a really odd and esoteric class. None of this sort of go and do the sort of the introduction to improv stuff. None of this sort of level 1 or thing. No, straight into doing the weirdest possible thing. So go and do Jules Munz's Improvised Shakespeare workshop,
which I haven't done, but it does sound amazing.
It is brilliant.
Yeah.
I had the most fun doing it. I mean, Jules is like so many of the teachers in London, a wonderful guy, and he's so much fun to play with because he pushes really hard to push an idea to destruction, and that's really at the core of a lot of Shakespearean style. It's understanding what you're doing, then pushing it to destruction, and getting to break the improv rules. Of course, I didn't really know the rules too well at the time, but the great joy of it is you get, particularly with Shakespeare, is you get to do long declamatory speeches. You get to talk and talk and talk in a way that you never would in a normal improv scene. You would never normally monologue in that way, whereas so much of Shakespeare is built around these long expositionary monologues or monologues about feelings. I remember Jules always put in this way of he always talked about this idea of the scene is you going along a horizontal, and then when you get a chance to monologue, Shakespeare is all about you then go vertical, so you then really dig down into a thing. And what was fascinating was what comes out of doing that. It's that classic thing in improv where suddenly you're saying something that you could never have planned to have said. I was where did that come from?
Yeah,
that was I just found that fascinating, and that really began to light something in me. Oh, okay, this is an amazing scene. Starting to meet the people, starting really blown away by the teams I was seeing, and seeing the size of the scene compared to what I was used to. Obviously it's grown so much more since then, but just being amazed at what was going on around me, and doing a workshop so inventive, I thought, okay, this is what is available in the city. That's amazing.
And I suppose if you've done Improvised Shakespeare as your first course, then nothing else holds any fear, really, does it? If you've,
Well, the only thing that's still two things have completely still broken me in improv, and I'm still working on them both. One is improvised singing and doing improvised musicals. So Stuart, we were in the same workshop, which I unfortunately had to drop out of. And this is nothing against it was a Nursery workshop, nothing against their teaching. Again, Jules is an amazing teacher and one of the best guys to be doing this you could imagine. I just couldn't do it. Just couldn't do it. Just couldn't. There was too many things trying to balance there, of trying to rhyme and trying to sing coherently and trying to keep the beat, because I have no internal beat, So I just couldn't do it, unfortunately. But the way I view it is, it's not quite my time yet. There will come a point when I'll do it. I mean, I've done bits and bobs of singing on stage, and I've done drop-in musical type workshops since, and I've done alright in them. So I can sense that this little mental block is going to go.
Yeah.
And the other mental block is doing howls. I mean, God, I don't know what it is. something about the mechanics of it, I cannot do it, which is really weird. And you know, I sort of, and you know, I sort of learned this through doing the fantastic free association course. I mean, I was doing level 2 of the free association. So Mike O.T. was teaching. Again, wonderful teacher, amazing guy. I'm going to be saying this a lot, by the way. I'm going to be like, everyone is amazing. And it's not me doing superlatives. Literally everyone in London Improv is amazing. You know, this guy sat here is amazing, you know.
Yeah, thank you very much, and so are you. And if they aren't amazing, we're not going to mention them. That's the rule.
That's it. So, you know, you hear a lot of names tonight. So I did the level 2 with the free association because, you know, the thing I want to do, and hopefully this kind of comes across in what we're talking about, is I want to do everything in improv. You know, I don't want to specialise in any one thing. I want to be able to do everything, go on stage, anybody, do any particular style, have fun in a certain sense. Just somebody called it an improv journeyman, and I love that idea. I love the idea of being an improv journeyman. You know, where I can just go anywhere, do anything, and have fun with it. You know, and even if it's a thing that maybe isn't my particular speciality, doesn't matter. I can just go and do it. Yeah. So that's what drew me to doing that. Okay, you know, I want to work with all of the different teachers in London, and so I was drawn to the Free Association because I've sort of had great words about what they're doing with their long form and ultimately built towards the Howl teaching, and had an amazing 8-week course with Mike O.T. and learning the structures of how that particular brand of Chicago long form works. Maybe I get maybe I get the sort of language a bit wrong, but you know, learning how their take on long form works and having great fun with that. The bit where it melted down was when we got into doing howls, and I just couldn't make those mental leaps that sort of requires, and it was a real shame because I was like, rats, you know, because I really enjoyed the rest of the course, you know, doing the other structures, the Armandos, and doing the sort of Ask Cats, and doing the structure of that, which was tremendous fun, and learning from Mike was a real pleasure because he's one of the teachers who's got that knack of, you can do a scene for him, and then he will, without thinking, name 15 different ways that scene could have been funnier or that you could have taken a different direction, and you still come out of it feeling good about yourself. Right. You know, and you know, you're not feeling like, oh man, I blew it. You're feeling like, okay, that was good, but yeah, he knows better, and that's a really cool way to sort of teach, and a really, you know, very natural way of teaching, which was very amazing. So, you know, thoroughly recommend the Free Association. You know, and I've been to their sort of level 3 and level 4 shows and showcases and seen what their students can do, and it's tremendous. You know, quality of improv that they can turn out. It's like, I just can't quite do it at the moment, you know. But, you know, there's lots and lots of different types to play, and that's the joy. It's
really interesting what you're saying about there will be a time for it. The time just hasn't come yet.
Yeah.
And I think it's really admirable, this kind of journeyman kind of ethic, you know, wanting to try all the different types of ways of doing improv, because I don't know if I'm that brave.
I don't know what it is. To me, it just seems to be the most instinctive thing. You know, it's like I want to, you know, I have the things I like doing. Yeah. You know, there's certain forms, and we'll talk about them as we go on, that I adore doing. But I love this idea of I could turn up anywhere with anybody. Yeah. And go and do anything. Yeah. And I just, and it's something actually that Roy Yannick or Roy Danger of Parallelogram or Phonograph, Pgraph from the Hideout Theatre in Austin talked about. There's a quote of his, and I can't remember exactly what it is, but there's somebody posted a photograph of like a quote up on the wall that he'd said, and the quote basically was to say, no matter what the form, no matter what the thing is, I will play it, and if I play it badly, then it's because of me. It's not because of the form. You know, I will do anything. Yeah. And if it goes badly, that's on me. You know, it's not quite that. He put it much more eloquently than that, typically so, but that was kind of the thought of it. And that sort of stuck with me and went, I want to be that guy who goes, yeah, sure, why not? Let's do that.
I have shied away from the Herald because having read descriptions of it, I think I don't have that ability to think, but partly, I mean, it may be the case that I haven't had the training.
I think that's a huge part of it. I think it is a form that I think some people can be very instinctive towards. I think we know certain people have, I'm a real believer that certain people have an instinctive knack towards everything, you know, towards certain things, and certain people don't. But to me, it is a form that does require, you know, you have to understand the mechanics of it and the sort of refinements required. And the great thing is, you know, we've now got, you know, some good organisations teaching howls in London. You know, we've got, you know, of course, David Shaw, who's trained so many of our improvisers in London. His howled classes, the Monkey Toast howl classes have gone down legend. You know, and he's turned out a huge number of improvisers, it was like half, 3/4 of London's improvisers have been trained by David Shaw, which is just this incredible genus of people. So he's brought to loads of people, doing his take on the Herald, and he's got his house teams now performing, and the Free Association do the same as well. They are doing this sort of level 1 through 4 structure with their teaching. It's a real bringing it in the basics and then advancing through the levels, and also have the house teams as well. So it's just, if ever you sort of get the urge to go down that line, it's there there to do, which is wonderful.
Yes, no, it's nice that there's so much variety, and that there isn't a specific London style.
No, and you really hit the nail on the head there for me, because this is the thing I love most about improv in London right now is you couldn't look at it and go, oh, that's a London style. And I think the longer that continues, the better. I love that London improv is like London. It is this incredible cultural melting pot. The whole city is this melting pot of everything that's been drawn into it. It's this incredibly energetic place, and that's what the improv feels like. It feels like a bunch of people trying different stuff out. They're all coming from different backgrounds. We're in a situation, of course, where most of our, really all of our teachers are trained from abroad. They've all had their training across the world. We have we have this wonderful structure already, and it's getting better and better all the time, where we have foreign teachers coming in, bringing their specialities with them. Again, Hoopla and the Nursery and C3 something, and all these groups are organising, bringing over international teachers to do these amazing workshops, and I think that is fueling this creativity and inventiveness that we've got in the scene. And I think the longer that we go on not having a London style, I think really the better. I think that's great for us. It makes the scene so much fun to be part of.
Yes, definitely. So, how did you get involved with Duck Duck Goose?
So Duck Duck Goose...
well, you should explain what Duck Duck Goose is. I'm presuming that everyone knows, but maybe people don't.
Oh yes, there's many people listen to this. So Duck Duck Goose is a weekly improv jam that we do. It's on Mondays, 8 p.m. It's a free night, and the way it's structured is we have 2 or 3 acts will perform, and they can be experienced, they can be first timers, they can be acts in that sort of development phase. They can be experienced teams trying to use it about. We will let anybody come and play any style that they want. We don't put any sort of prescription on that. We just want to see as much different improv as we can. So we have the acts, but the big thrust of the night is we also give a lot of jam opportunities to people too, because one of the things that, again, I love in improv, and really all of us involved with Duck Duck Goose love, is this capacity to get on stage with a person you've never met before, you maybe literally making eye contact and learn the name for the first time at that moment, and you go and do improv together. To me, there's something awesomely pure about that feeling of you step on stage and you go, all right, let's do this. Let's get a word at word. Okay, let's make something happen. And I love that, because it's amazing.
Does that not terrify you?
It doesn't. This is always the thing that every time I tell people I do improv, they always say, oh, it must be so scary being on stage. And I say, it's not. To me, the scariest thing is being on stage with a script. That is terrifying.
Right.
Because, one, you've got to remember the script, and with a memory like mine, that's tough. And 2, if your script isn't working, that's terrible to me. That's scary. Whereas if you're on stage and you've no idea what you're going to do, and the audience knows you've no idea what you're going to do, but then you just throw yourself into it and have fun with it, that to me is the easiest, natural thing of all. So I love jamming. I've always loved jamming. This idea, you get on stage, you don't know what's going to happen. And yes, having a regular team, performing people over and over again, that's where you can develop some really amazing improv. That's where a lot of the great work sits. But for spontaneous, true individual fun, this idea of you get on stage and you go, okay, let's see what happens, is brilliant. So that's what we do. So at the Duck Duck Goose Jam, we really put a lot of emphasis on getting jammers up on stage, and we give a lot of time in the show to do. We do 2-person scenes, and we do 8-person montages. So we put a lot of emphasis on that, and it's great fun. We have an amazing time doing it. I mean, at the moment, here in December 2015, we're based down at the F for Social in Brixton, so we do the free gig down Monday nights. But who knows where we'll be in the future? But you can find us online and Facebook and all that sort of thing. But I got involved with it back in 2014. Was it 2014?
Just say it with conviction.
Yeah, you know what? Yes, that's right. You're only wrong in improv if you acknowledge it. That's right. Yeah, I'll have to check this. I think it was 2014 I first got involved with it. And it was a weekly show, and I started to go to it, and I was really enjoying it. And at that time, it was being run out of the Priory Arms in Stockwell by Vic Hogg and Walid Akhtar, who'd sort of create the night and were taking it on. And I absolutely loved it, because I found the atmosphere to be great fun. I loved the fact it was weekly. I loved the fact there was a chance to get on stage and perform and jam. And I was going every week, and Vic and Walid could see how engaged I was with the night, how much I was enjoying it. So they asked me if I wanted to become part of the team in presenting and running it, and I just jumped on the opportunity. I said yes, of course. And it's an amazing opportunity to have something like that. So it's gone on from there. Walid eventually sort of moved on for Duck Duck Goose. He kind of focused on I think his sort of stage and screen acting side of things, and he's doing that wonderfully. So for a while it was me and Vic running it. Then we began to think, okay, we kind of want to expand it from just us two. It's a lot of work for us to be doing it. We were ambitious. We wanted throughout the night. We wanted to keep doing it weekly. We want to keep pushing it, publicising it, getting more and more people coming. Because it's kind of growing, but we want to grow it all the time. So we realised that there was a guy called Ed JD, who was coming weekly and was really engaged with it and really buying into the vibe of what it was. And it's like, he was doing what I was doing, basically. So Vic and I asked him if he wanted to be involved, and Ed was generous enough to say yes, so he's jumped on and become part of the team. And since then, we've added 4 more guys to the team. And so we added Amar and Steph and Brendan and most recently, just the last couple of weeks, Dan. Again, all people who are coming every week, who are wonderful players, they're great jammers, they're fun guys, and they get what Duck Duck Goose is all about. Because what we want the night to be is a fun and friendly place, a place where people can try stuff out, for acts to try stuff out, but also for jammers to go and feel there's a no pressure environment, to want to be relaxed and comfortable and able to get on stage and just see what happens. And that's what we want the night to be. That's kind of what we want to give back to London Improv, is to be a night where people can go and try stuff out, be they act performers or be they jammers. And all the guys who've become part of Team Duck Duck Goose have been part of that and bought into that, and that's been amazing to be part of.
Yes, I have. I don't get along as often as I would like, but I have very fond memories. The first time I came along, the Showstoppers were playing.
That was an amazing night.
Blew my mind.
It is. I mean, and this has been a thing. I mean, we have. It's my ambition, really, to have every London team play at Duck Duck Goose. That's what we want to do ultimately, because we're doing a weekly show, so we're doing 40+ shows a year, 2 or 3 acts. So we're already getting that's what, 80 to 90 sort of, that's terrible maths, but you know what I mean. We're talking probably 100+ slots available per year, and obviously some teams play there multiple times. But so we've got acts like the Showstoppers, and we've had these incredible teams come and play, but also we've had spontaneous stuff that's come together on nights. We had a situation where we had a dropout, so I think it was Reese Collier and Nick Oram from Do Not Justice Stage were there, and they just did a show. They just did an amazing 2/4 together, so that was fantastic. And we've had that kind of that spirit, where people will just do stuff, and we are so lucky with both the well-known acts that we've had play. We've had teams of really incredible caliber people come play, but also teams are brand new into improv. Teams are doing their first show with us. And that's a really fantastic feeling when someone says, we got our first night at Duck Duck Goose, and that's wow, sort of feeling. And it's a beautiful thing, being able to play a role like Hoopla does with the Launchpad nights, to give a staging chance to people to do stuff and help build the scene, both in terms of teams, but also in terms of new players as well. People finding improv and coming into it, and getting more engaged with it. That's a real sort of wow kind of moment, forward. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I mean, I did my first improv show as part of the Saturday mornings at Duck Duck Goose, and it was just mainly I remember standing at the stage, just being pretty terrified, but it was an amazing experience.
It's that you come off and you. It's a wonderful thing, that you sort of you feel the fear of it, and you acknowledge it, and you play with it, and you find ways to use it, and it's a wonderful feeling.
Do you get nervous before you perform?
Less and less these days. Yeah, I'm quite a highly strung guy, so I get nervous very easily. And yeah, I used to get nervous a lot before doing stuff. And the nerves are still there. The energy is still that. But recently, a lot less so. You know, I've felt a lot calmer in general on stage, and a lot just calmer before shows. It's been really interesting still seeing that progression. I mean,
is that because you've done so many Duck Duck Gooses?
I think that's a huge part of it. Yeah, is the fact that I'm doing stuff weekly. You know, and I've been living and breathing improv for 2 years now, so it's kind of been getting into my DNA, you know, and I've been lucky enough to perform with a lot of different people. That's one of the great things about doing the jamming and running the night, is I get to meet so many different people and watch and learn and just have it flow into me from that. But then also to do so many different workshops with so many different teachers, I absorb so much from that, and it's so nice. I mean, back in mid-November I was out in the States, and I'll be able to talk more about this in a little bit. I was out in the States doing some improv, and two very, very dear friends of mine, Jessica and Aspen, who are two of my favourite people and two of my favourite improvisers. They both said independently on the same day how much I'd developed as an improviser between November, when I saw them then, and April, when I'd last seen them. And that was that was like the highest sort of praise, and the nicest thing I could have heard was like of how much I've come on in that period of time. And I think that is just through regular performance, through the workshops, and I think finally like deep down processing a lot of the stuff I'd learned in the workshops, and like sort of sitting it inside and going, oh, this is it, you know, and then it begins to really just get into my DNA as a performer. And I feel it's a bit of a sporting analogy I use here.
It's weird because this is not the first sporting analogy you've had on this podcast. But
love
anyway,
love it. Well, you see, sport and improv, who thinks they sit together?
Well,
You know,
yeah,
it's
exactly.
classic. Well, I personally do.
God, let's go for the sporting analogy. I possibly won't understand it, but
All right,
I will back you up all the way.
Attaboy. That's what it's all about. So, in cricket, they talk about time a lot, particularly for batsmen. They say the great players look like they have time. It's that thing where they can play better in a circumstance, and they can play better shots, and they look calmer, and they look more collected. Everything's less frantic. It looks like the other players are playing in slow motion no matter what is happening. And that's, to me, what it feels like as you develop as an improviser. You've got all this going on around you, all these distractions, you've got all the things going on in the scene, all the things you need to concentrate on your partner, on yourself, on the set, on the creation of what you're doing. I say set, of course, I mean, because the space work you're creating around you, you've got all this going on. And it's remaining that calm and that focus inside it. And lately, that's what I felt I've got better at.
Wow.
Generally, is just being more that zen in the moment of this is the right thing to do, and not feeling rushed.
Yes.
I think before I'm a bit bull in a china shop as a person. I'm very high energy. I really throw myself at things. And I think of late, I've begun to learn just to take time to find the right things. Just let the creativity just flow through without having to push it all the time. They just kind of happen. And that's lately what it's felt like, you know, it's been finding that lovely sort of performance-y place.
Yeah, it's having the confidence to not worry that the audience is going to be bored, but just to, I know what you're saying.
And I think seeing as much improv as I do has been really good for that, you know, and seeing again, having a weekly show and seeing so many teams perform, seeing so many people perform. I think what that has put across me is like audience dynamics and what you can and cannot do I'll never say what you cannot do as a performer, but what you can do as a performer. And I think the big lesson I've learned has been time. You know, you can watch performers just perform, just be on stage improvising. You know, to me, I don't need to know straight away where they are, who they are, what their relationships are, what they're doing. If what they're doing on stage is engaging and real, and I am drawn to it and I want to watch it, I will let them have time to do that. I think that's been really seeing that firsthand and appreciating that has been so good for me as a performer, to know I can do that on stage, to know I can let a thing happen.
Yes.
You know, really organically happen. I think that, and not rush it, is such a refreshing thing for me. It was great.
Yeah, and it's also interesting, and because when you're on stage, things that seem like 10 minutes have actually only been a minute.
Oh yes, I mean time is so deceptive on
Yeah.
stage. I mean, it can be incredibly long or incredibly short. It's never, in my mind, it is never actually the time it is.
Yeah.
It's never the time it is, and it's always so interesting that it's weird. It's so weird.
It is weird, isn't it? So with Duck Duck Goose, you've branched out into Duck Duck Goose Presents.
That's right. Yes. So from the weekly jam, we've been wanting to see what other ways we could potentially sort of expand the shows we're doing, and we've been wondering about doing another night, and we sort of made a few tentative inquiries, but not really sort of got anywhere with it. And then one evening, Ed and I were at a launch event for an app called City Night, which is like a sort of it was an app we tied in with, and it was.
How do you end up going to a launch for an app? I just don't move in those circles.
I know. I mean, I'm aware that that's like the most London wanker state. I mean, to put in context, it was in Shoreditch as well. So we were in the bar called Jaguar shoes in Shoreditch, which is the most Shoreditchy bar you can imagine. So I mean, I always regretted texting my parents because they would think what a sort of London wanker I'd become. I mean, my brother already thinks I'm a hipster. Hey, Paul. And so yes, so the company City Night had got in touch with us because they were running. They'd created this app which is basically designed to tell you what is going on in your area in terms of entertainment, be it comedy, be it music, be it dance, be it anything really. And it's a really cool idea. So it works on a geographical basis, so you can sort of, you can open it up, put in your preferences of what you want, and it tells you what's in your area.
Right. Yeah.
So they'd found out about us, and we're looking to really branch into comedy. So we sort of worked with their team, and got ourselves set up with them. So they invited us to the launch night, and Ed and I could go along, so we went along. And it was supposed to be an inverted commas networking night, night in the bar basically. But for once, the networking genuinely worked.
Wow!
The first person we spoke to was a guy called Dan, and he is the man in charge of bookings and running the Backyard Comedy Club in Bethnal Green, who was another partner of City Night. Literally the first person Ed and I spoke to, and he said, "Oh, you guys do improv? Cool. I want to do an improv night at Backyard Comedy. It's something I've seen, he knew it was a growing thing. And he said, yeah, I want to do an improv night at Backyard Comedy. So he said, how about we do a monthly night there? And we're like, yeah, right, there we are, done. Rubber stamped it there and then got back to drinking. And it grew from there. So, we ended this year doing 3 monthly shows at Backyard Comedy. And what we wanted to do differently with Duck Duck Goose Presents is we wanted this show to be distinctly different to the jam. So with this one, it was like, okay, we want to use this night to grow improv. We want it because we're doing it in a comedy club that is not a improv venue. It's a stand-up kind of bar, a stand-up venue, and we wanted to tap into their audience and showcase the level that improv can be, and actually show like, guys, this is how good it can be. So the focus we wanted to get in what we consider to be the most established, the most consistent. I hesitate to use the word best because I don't like that word, but the acts who could showcase how consistently great improv can be, and that was where we went with it. And lucky, we've had 3 really fantastic shows. We've had some knockout acts perform. I mean, the most recent one we did back in November, we had Project 2, who were one of the first teams I saw, and are still one of my favourite teams. That's John Monkhouse, Katie Shute, and Chris Mead, and they do this amazing geek and nerd culture sci-fi improv, which is just so brilliant. It's so funny, it's so clever, it knows its genres incredibly, and they're just a brilliant team, and they're 3 incredibly experienced and just monstrously talented people. So we had Project 2, we had Multiverse Improv, which is a new musical team. They were just wonderful. I mean, they came and did a Duck Duck Goose jam, and we signed them up for the presents pretty much on the night because they just blew us away with what they were doing. They did this brilliant. They did it up in Edinburgh. It's a brilliant format show. they do a sliding doors style format show. So they establish a character, like a central character, and establish a situation, and then they, having established that, they then have a decision point in the show, and they then play out a scene while doing it in musical, of course. They're doing it with songs. They then play out a scene of one decision. They then scroll back and then play out option B. So they have option A and they play option B, and then they run these two parallel stories.
Whoa.
Yeah, so they are doing a musical dual narrative,
Whoa.
which they then tie up at the end in one coherent ending, and it is a work of genius.
That's just blown my mind just hearing about it.
That's it,
By
I mean,
performing it and doing it in
It's
song.
they do so much to make it so hard for themselves, and they do it so well. You know, the songs are great, you know, and they perform it beautifully. So they were wonderful, and they smashed it. And then the final act of the night was the improvised adventures of Cariad and Paul. So Paul Foxcroft and Cariad Lloyd, who are as near to improv royalty as you're going to get. I mean, they are two of London's and really the country's most storied improv performers. I mean, Cariad is part of Ostentatious. I mean, she's been on TV doing numerous things. She was recently on QI and Have I Got News for You. You know, she's and being introduced as an improviser, which is such a sort of like whoa thing.
Yeah.
Paul is so involved with with the creative world, and he's just a brilliant improviser and a thinker himself. So watching those two, and they did just the two of them. They did an hour, just the pair of them, doing these different stories, and they had the audience in the palm of their hand. And again, seeing how they performed and could do everything. They could do clowning, they could do games, they could do structure, they could do narrative, they could do bits of music. They could do anything, and they could do any style they wanted. They kept dropping it in between them all and showcased all of them. And I was like, looking at that again, that was like, this again is what I want to be. I want to look at these and go, oh, I want to do that. I want to be able to do everything like that. I'll never do it as well as them, but I want to be able to do it like that. So that was just an amazing show. And that was the kind of caliber of show we were always aiming for, was to have 3 knockout acts each show to show what it's all about. So that was this year. We are going to continue doing the presents next year, because we were really pleased with how it went, and Dan at Backyard was very pleased too. So we're going to go to a quarterly structure next year. We're going to base it around sort of doing 4 a year, because we found doing monthly was just a bit too much strain on us. But we want to make sure we keep the quality as high as it can be. So we're going to do I think the first one is going to be March or April. Keep an eye on Duck Duck Goose on Twitter and on Facebook for information. I think the first one's going to be in March or April. We are getting that sorted out, and that's going to be amazing. So yeah, we're really pleased with how that's developing. You know.
Cool. You mentioned America. We should talk about America.
You should, I guess. Yeah.
How did you discover America?
So I mean, obviously, you know, America is improv sort of, you know, home base, shall we say. It's Tracy Island of improv for us. You know, so we ended up going back there. And, you know, like all improvisers, I was thinking about going out to the States. You know, that's what I had in mind. Yeah, you know, this is back in 2014. It's like, okay, you know, pretty committed to improv now. I'm really enjoying it. I think, yeah, I might go out and go and do something. And, you know, I had Chicago and New York and Los Angeles and all the sort of, you know, normal places down the list. And then a thing happened that not only blew away all those ideas of where I was going to go, but basically changed my life completely. And it's this mad thing of one decision and one moment completely has changed my improv life and my general life. And I can't emphasize enough how much a transformation happened just from this one moment. And the decision was to go along to the Nursery Theatre one night to go and see a team called Parallelogram Phonograph perform. Go and see Pgraph perform. And I sort of ummed and ahed about it, and I thought, oh, what the heck, I've got nothing else lined up for that, I'll go along and see them. And I had my mind blown. This is back in spring 2014, and these 4 improvisers came out. They're based out of Austin, Texas, city I had never heard of, had no idea about, no idea of the improv scene, no idea about it. City. They came out and they did one of the most unbelievable shows I've seen. They did this amazing improvised narrative where, so they did an improvised play where they did it in the style of a sort of like dark space story. It was called Aries something, Aries and their number, and it was brilliant, and they were brilliant, and I had my mind completely blown by it. and I saw that and went, I want to do that. I want to do that, what they're doing. You know, I'd seen their student showcase work, because they've been over teaching, so they've done like a week of teaching, so the students performed too, and I love what the students did, and I love what they did, and I went, yeah. So after the show, I found out that they were doing a weekend workshop, so instantly went and signed up for that. And under the care of Casey, Kareem, Roy and Valerie, the four members of Pgraph, had one of the most wonderful weekends of my life. Just had a brilliant, fun weekend playing around in the Rag Factory, and learnt so much, had such a good time.
What did they do that was different from other things you've done before?
What it was the way that they built this narrative, you know, and they built a story. But what they do brilliantly, Pgraph, is they build the simplest, barest bones story. They don't get lost in the narrative of it. They just do the simplest story, and then on that structure, they then hang character, performance, interaction, fun, playfulness with each other, and all of these different things, and also their ability to do multiple different genres to their real genre team. I mean, put in context, they have been playing together for 10 years. When I was out in the States in November, they did their 10th anniversary show. They've done 600 plus shows together, which is just mind-blowing.
Yes.
So these four people. And so I always used to say, you know, two of them are married, and I would always challenge people when they first meet the four of them is to guess which two are married, because I would bet it would be the third or fourth option that you would think from looking, because they are so tight and they're so natural with each other. They are just brilliant, and it was just, you know, when something it just got into my soul and got under my skin of like how much I was enjoying it, how good I felt doing it, how much better as an improviser I felt doing what they were teaching, and I had a great time. And at the end of this 2 week. God, I've only this 2-day workshop. I said, well, we're going to be doing a summer intensive back at our home theatre, the Hideout in Austin. Anyone want to go? And I went, yep, me. Instantly, it's like me. I want to go. You know, and I thought, okay, Mark, be sensible, be smart about it. You know, you just made an instinctive decision in the moment because you're excited. Go home and think about it. And 3 days later, I was still going, I want to go and do it. I want to go to Austin. I want to go to the city that I have never gone to before, where I know 4 people incredibly vaguely, and go and spend a week there. Yeah, that's a logical decision. You know, I want to pay all this money to go to a place I've never been before and don't know anybody there. And so therefore I did, because it was an itch that just was not going to go away. I had to scratch it. So I booked the flight out, booked a hotel, booked myself onto the week intensive. And in summer 2014, and in early August 2014, got on the plane, flew out, arrived in Austin, went up to the Hideout Theatre, and by the end of the first night, I had seen 2 shows. I was at somebody's birthday party. Again, hello Aspen, meet you off the bat. I was at somebody's birthday party, and had met about 40 awesome people. And I was just amazed. And I fell completely in love, you know, immediately. You know, someone just hits you immediately. And I fell in love with the city, fell in love with the people, and fell in love with the Hideout Theatre, and fell in love really with the Austin Improv community, the AIC, which is this incredible community of people. And just fell head over heels in love with it all. I had a wonderful week of teaching, you know, learning from the Hideout staff, learning and performing alongside local improvisers who were going to workshops, but also like other national improvisers too. So there's people who'd come in from all across the States and from Canada to perform. So already you'd got this wonderful network of people performing, and it was brilliant. You know, learned so much about their narrative style, about how to do a theatrical, very coherent storytelling improv. Got to do a showcase, which was the most fun. Had a wonderful time doing the showcase. Got to see brilliant performances, get involved with some cool stuff, and mainly just meet brilliant people. And I think, you know, if anyone has spoken to me since August 2014, I will have bored you rigid with talking about Austin and the Hideout, because it has just changed my life. You know, this city I never would have thought of going to.
What's it like? What's the Hideout Theatre like? What's Austin like?
So Austin has a reputation of being a quote-unquote weird city. Its unofficial motto is, and it kind of slightly corporate motto now, is keep Austin weird. It is the state capital of Texas, which, as you know, is a very, very right-wing, very much a red state, And Austin is this tiny, liberal, bonkers part of it. It's most known for its music scene. It's got a fantastic music scene. South by Southwest is one of the principal festivals. That's a big music and tech festival and performance festival there. But it has a really flourishing performance and comedy scene. And the improv scene is very established there now. They've got, I think, 5 sort of organisations, 4 or 5 theatres, all doing different stuff. They've got a very strong community, the AIC, very established, very loving, very developed community, and we're really a model, I think, what we are on the path of developing in London, a real community kind of spirit. The Hideout is a wonderful theatre that's sat on Congress, so on the main streets of downtown Austin. It's got 2 theatres in it, sort of small upstairs one and a larger, sort of 90-person one. It's got a beautiful coffee shop, which is just a delightful coffee shop attached to it. It's this wonderful complex. So some of the members of Pgraph are involved with the ownership and the running of it. And got other people involved with it too, and it's just run by people who not only love improv but also love developing improv. So they do a lot of teaching there, pushing people through it in their different styles, bringing through whole different things, and they do a great thing with their shows, because as well as doing shows where like teams and troupes can perform, they also do casted shows. This is a real innovation. Again, I think I'd never seen before going to Austin. Was they will organise a show much like a theatre performance, so they will have a title, they will have auditions, they will have a structure to it, and they will do a limited run, 6 to 8 weeks of that show, and then thank you, good night, put it to bed, and then bring the next one through. So it is like theatre that they do, and they're all in different styles they do. So I mean, when I was out there the first time, they were doing the Dahl House, which was improvised adventures in the style of Roald Dahl. It's the first show I saw, utterly delightful. They've had improvised silent theatre there. They're currently doing a show called Boy Howdy, which is sort of like improvised 1960s cowboy TV series, like a serialized sort of cowboy series. The show they're currently planning is a show called Savage Swords, which is going to be in the style of Conan stories. So that's going to be amazing. So I've already seen some photos from that, and there's so much fur and leather going on. It's just brilliant. But the show that I'm so glad I got to see, and I got to see this when I went out again back in April this year, and I'm so lucky to see this, is what to me is probably still the single best improv thing I've ever seen. Big statement time, put it back, it's found out, is a show called Nothing and Everything. And that is improvised Chekhov. Conceptually it's a great idea, Chekhov, Chekhovian theatre is so distinct. And it's the thing they do very well too. They work very hard at not just making it like a sort of a gag thing, but actually really properly being authentic about the form that it takes. Being very sincere about it, really learning it, doing the research. So Nothing and Everything, improvised Chekhov, and we all know what Chekhovian sort of theatre feels like, and that's what it captured. But what they did was make it theatre staging. So it wasn't just people dressed as normal. They were all in costume, all in Chekhovian costume, and it was a full props show. No space work. It was all props and sets.
Wow.
And it was theatre. It was true theatre in the very sincerest way of putting it. The only thing that wasn't conventional was there was no script. But you wouldn't have known, because they had this staggering team of improvisers performing, being so authentic to Chekhov, and using real props and interacting with the surroundings and generating the most brilliant story. And it was a real pleasure to see it. And as well as one of the best shows I've ever seen, he's also responsible for one of the funniest things I have ever seen, and it's this vid clip that's done the rounds, and I adore it. It was mid-show, and Casey Danger, who's one of the 4 of Pgraph, she was playing a character who was she was very angry in the scene, and she picked up this bouquet of flowers and hurled it at one of the other, I think he was playing her husband, this guy called Mark Major playing her husband. And, these things, the third of flowers, it probably bounces off him or misses him. Instead, he just puts his arm out and catches them. He just catches the flowers and puts them down on the table. A moment you could not script. It was so beautiful, and you could see how absolutely furious Casey was. Like, sincerely furious that she was. But she had this big emotional build-up to hurl the flowers at him. He just catches them, puts them down, and carries on talking. And she just collapses on the floor. And you couldn't script it. You couldn't create that. It was that sort of that like some of that creation that is in improv. And it was like, that's a wonderful, wonderful moment. And yeah, so I'm very lucky to see that. So, since being there in August, and I've been looking to get back out there again in April and November this year, I've absolutely adored the city and just had the best time playing out. I've got so many wonderful friends there, so many people who are, I can't list them all, there's literally too many people to list, but I've just come across this community of people filled with big hearts, big love, big talent too, so much talent and inventiveness. And what I'm hoping for, looking forward to, is not only my being able to go out there a bit more and perform and just be in the city, but also seeing more of their improvisers come over here. We've been lucky that Pgraph have been over a couple of times and performed in the UK, and hopefully we'll be coming back again, cross fingers. We also had a couple of friends of mine, Peter Rogers and Lindsay McGowan, came out on holiday, and they performed at Duck Duck Goose. They did a show called Control Issues, which is this amazing choose-your-own-adventure style format show, and we got a scratch team together at Duck Duck Goose and did it, and we had a great time doing it. So we're now going to do our version of Control Issues called Duck Duck Tales. We're busy getting that prepared here, and thank you to Roy and at the Hideout for giving us permission to use the format.
Can you explain what those Duck Duck Tales
format
is?
So Duck Duck Tales is going to be, those old choose your own adventure books when you were a child. You'd have you had your choice. So you would the narrative would go, and then you'd reach a point where you go choose A, choose B. If you choose A, go to page 51. Choose B, go to page 6. And you make a choice, go to that page, and you see what the result is at. That's what Control Issues is. So the story is a narrative, but you have a narrator who sort of steers and guides the story, and he and the cast work together to produce points in the story where a choice, with two distinct choices, have to be made. And then it's up to the audience to decide which choice they want to go with, and the improvisers then play out that choice.
That's cool.
It's a really fun, format. It's a good role for the narrator to play in it, and the cast themselves, and it gets you in the mindset of always trying to find a pinch point, to try and find a sort of. So, one of the shows that we did, and we played it typically pretty wacky because that's just how we played it. We ended up in a situation where I'd become a goblin king, as you do, and I was living in this society which is a very sexist society. We'd established that only men could inherit and women didn't have any power. And we reached the decision point of, well, I'm a goblin, but I am also a king, so my choices are A, use my kingly powers to allow my sister to inherit the family business, change the laws, or B, marry my sister and keep the business in the family. We didn't really need to know which option the audience chose, so myself and Big Hog as she was my sister, we got married, and my coach, my cousin was a fool by that, as our father, as you would hope. So it was delightful. So we had such fun doing it, and we're going to be doing that, introducing that next year, and we can't wait to be playing that as well, developing a team out of it. So, we're hoping them. I'm personally obviously hoping that more of my friends will come over and also bring their improv sort of goodness over too. So it's a city I can't recommend enough, and a few of our improvisers have gone out there. John and Katie and Chris have been out there. Jules Munns and Heather Urquhart have been out there. Andrew Gentili's been out there and performed. Ginny Lyons has been out there and performed, and we're hoping. So they've been lucky because they've seen real cream of London improv as well.
Yeah.
So I am by some distance the least competent and least sort of established performer. This is not false modesty. This is just genuine. Like, these guys are amazing. So it's like, it's like I keep telling them, it's like, you're so lucky you've seen these amazing people. So we've got this sort of core of groups who've been out there and been blown away by the place. And what's nice is, as well as building the connections that way, we're also bringing something back with us. The Nursery has recently been doing their series of Nursery Originals, which are casted narrative shows exactly inspired by the Hideout. And they've made clear that these are Hideout-inspired shows because Jules and Chris and the creative team at the Nursery have been so inspired by what they've seen, felt very much as I have. So that's been a wonderful sight to see, sort of seeing the inspiration come through in different ways there. So that's for me because, though I want to be an improviser who can do anything, what I most love doing is narrative.
Yeah.
I love to do. I love to play scenes, and I love to play narrative, and those are the main things that come out of the hideout, and that's what I most love doing, is that kind of, not particularly structured play, just letting it happen, you know. As well as the hideout, my other big, you know, as well as the hideout, and there's obviously the London teachers I've learned from, my other biggest inspiration is Dave Wazowski.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and he's a huge inspiration to me. I've been looking to learn from him a couple of times. And he, of course, is all about very simple, very authentic improv. That thing, you step on stage, you react to the person in front of you, and you create something there and then. Just like, you don't sort of preload ideas, you just let the thing happen. You look at the person and you react authentically. And that was mind-blowingly good for doing that. And he does a format called two chairs. So two improvisers on stage, both with a chair, and they don't take suggestions from the audience, they just walk around with the chairs, and ask the audience to say stop, and then put them down, and that's the scene painted there, and that's how they created from that. And I love watching this format. He and Jules have done it a couple of times in London. It's been brilliant, and I've done my take on it quite recently. In my last visit to the States in November, as well as spending a week in Austin, I was lucky enough to be part of the Tampa Improv Festival.
Wow.
So two friends of mine, Nick and Hannah, Nick Riggs and Hannah Prince, who I met in Austin back in summer 2014 at the intensive. They are two of the main driving forces of improv in Tampa, Florida, and they created this festival, Tampa Improv Festival. I think this is the third year I think they're doing it, and I'd seen they're doing a festival, so I dropped them online and said, "Hey guys, congratulations with the festival. You know, I'm planning to come out to the States around at this time. Can I come by and see the festival?" And they said, "Yeah, sure. Do you want to perform?" And I was like, "Yeah, of course I do." So I said yes, and then decided I need to work out then what I was going to do.
That's the right way around.
Exactly so. I like to think that's exactly what it is. So I sort of thought, okay, you got to do something. I was like, well, I don't want to do a solo show because I've done some solo improv, but I like to play with people.
It's more fun to play with others,
I really do. I sincerely think that. I mean, there's we can make lucky jokes if we want, but I certainly feel better as a performer when I play with others. So okay, I do so. There's no one from the UK who's going to be available to come out, so I can't sort of do that. So I think, well, I'm going to need somebody who I'm used to playing with, who's a friend of mine, and so the first person I asked was my friend Aspen, and she is one of my closest friends in Austin, and I said, "Do you want to do a two-prop in Tampa?" And bless her, she said yes, which was just a great thrill. And as we said, we wanted to play with her on stage for so long because we've done stuff together, and it's always had fun doing it, and it's just lovely to be with, and she is a genius, and it's great watching her do stuff and getting a chance to play with her. It's amazing too. So she said yes, and so I got back to touch Nick, said, "Yeah, we're going to do a two-person show, and we're going to record an Englishman and a belle, because she is a Southern belle, and I'm an Englishman, and I'm an Englishman." So we created a two-prop on that, and she got the name for that, which is a wonderful decision. And so we turned up in Tampa. We had a slot, and about 4 hours before the slot, we met for the first time since April. So this is in mid-November. For the first time since mid-April, we met, and we hadn't seen each other in months. And we had a few hours hanging out. Went out on stage, did the two chairs format, because I thought we want to do a format that no one else is going to be probably doing in the show, and we just want to something different. And probably did the best improv show I've yet done.
Brilliant.
I had the most fun. We together had the most fun. We were just super playful, very much on the same page each other's performers. And we just had a brilliant, brilliant time playing together. And the 20 minutes we were doing flew by. The show had some great moments in it, moments I'm really, really proud of and had such pleasure doing. And that has been a huge thrill to have done my first festival. That's my first festival I've been on the schedule for. I mean, technically I did the Improvised Play Festival earlier this year in Austin, but that's because I was showcasing at the end of a workshop. But this one was the first time that had my name on the schedule, and what a thrill it was, and I feel so lucky to have been able to do that. So thank you to everyone that posted in the conversation. Thank you to Nick and Hannah. Thank you to Tiff, and of course thank you to Aspen for giving me a chance to perform with you. It's absolute pleasure and thrill to have done that. And then to guest in a wonderful show called History and the Influence, which was at TIFF as well. That's a show that Kevin Miller from Austin does, where he gets pissed, like blitheringly pissed, and then narrates historical events that the audience pick for him. and the improvisers then perform around it. And the show is a glorious clusterfuck, and it's one that I absolutely had the most fun being part of as well. So I got a chance to guest in that. So that was 2 real bucket list things done, in one time. And then then after that, I had a week in Austin. So that was a brilliant trip in November. So stoked to have a chance to have done that.
Yeah.
So that's a big tick this year, was doing a festival and being able to do it with somebody who is a pleasure to perform with. So good times.
That sounds amazing.
What improv allows you to do.
Okay, final question. You've mentioned that improv has got into your DNA.
Yeah.
How's it changed your life?
It has introduced me to people I would never have otherwise have met. I have friends who somebody wouldn't have known. I have friends and families, I consider them now, here in England and across the world, and particularly in Austin, the States, I would just never have met. I've got to do things I would never otherwise have done. And I'm different as a person, now. I am, I'm a person that's discovered a thing that I am passionate about and I love to do. I'm a much happier person for doing it. I'm a much more rounded person for having done it, and it's given me a chance to have fun in a way that I've never before. I've never been as committed to something as I am to improv. I've done a lot of different things in my life, and I've tried things and given things up and done things for a bit, and been involved with lots of stuff, but I've never felt as passionate about something as I do about improv. It's given me the chance to perform, which I would never otherwise be doing. It's given me the chance to organise shows. It's allowed me to travel. It's allowed me to make connections and build a life that I would never otherwise have had. And it's that thing where I think about it every day. I go and see shows as often as I can, and I be involved in things as much as I can, and I think about it all the time. And it has changed me, and changed me in every way for the better. And I am so grateful that I've had this opportunity to be part of the incredible scene we've got here in London, and to see how it is growing, and to see what we're doing, and to see the teams and see the people, is such a pleasure. It makes me so happy to see it, and I am a very, very lucky person, and I'm always going to feel that.
Brilliant. Thank you very much.
Stuart, my absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for asking me.
I made this.
That's improv!